What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Interesting second video today. There's only two things in life for certain. Those are death and taxes. You know, that's the old saying. And Capital One essentially telling us that cryptocurrency wallets, mentioning, kind of an iteration, just as examples with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, where their wallets that they're going to, well, they're at least trying to patent and probably have a lot of things built out, are going to also integrate cost basis and kind of the tax mechanisms that are really going to be necessary for digital assets to be utilized across the board by a lot of these traditional financial institutions. Because I think once we do have some sort of compliance, and maybe this is one way that compliance is gained, and it also alludes just to the growth, in my opinion, of this digital asset market. This patent was filed, like we always talk about, and we'll see this kind of right now too, during the downtrend, 2018, 2019, within the digital asset market. A lot of growth and innovation by the traditional financial companies, because they know that if they're not going to innovate, they're going to get left behind. Now, this one was granted and publicized on October 19th, and again, system configured to manage cryptocurrency wallets, having cost basis tracking and methods of use thereof. It's talking about the exemplary view of a cryptocurrency transaction user interface on a screenshot of a user device showing this figure 3A, which we can essentially see here that whatever you're purchasing is going to cost $110.50, for example, and these are your wallet's current holdings. Obviously, these prices aren't the same now. They just kind of left this in here as the model. They reference Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, the equivalency and the unit of account that you hold in that digital asset, the equivalency to the US dollar. And even down here below, we can see that incorporating that tax payment amount as well. Do you want to incorporate it into the payment? Do you not want to? And then you approve the total. So really slick stuff. I'm sure this is coming. Don't avoid your taxes, by the way, people. Like, I would very much so suggest that you do your due diligence, the best that you possibly can, to pay your taxes when you're dealing in digital assets. But these things need to happen for mass adoption to occur. Now, we don't 100% know if what the regulatory standing is going to be on even a minute-to-minute basis within this market. But this is just one more example of where everything goes. I also saw this, forgot to mention it, but Coldwell Banker, obviously a gigantic real estate mogul, to utilize public blockchain to tokenize real estate. I believe this is in Thailand. I'm going to kind of float through some of this stuff here. Also, this is really interesting to me because we know Joseph Lubin, we know Consensus and how deeply ingrained into Ethereum that Consensus is. They are gigantic, by the way. They partnered with Visa, announced this January 13th, envisioning a future of central bank digital currencies. I just want to run through this, though, because Scale is another asset. It's on Coinbase right now, not financial advice, obviously, but just seeing the things that Consensus was launching. And I think even after this partnership, so this is February 11th, 2020, there was something recently as well, I would say within the past 4 or 5 months, with Scale and Consensus. So I'm paying attention to networks like Scale as well, because, again, Consensus by some has deemed to be, quote unquote, the XRP killer or whatever, but that's nonsensical. But they're super deep into the Ethereum network. You can look into Consensus a little bit more. Obviously, we can see Joseph Lubin here, et cetera, Ethereum 2.0. And they also, so not only do they partner with Visa, which was just announced, but literally like a month ago, partner with MasterCard. So we're starting to see kind of these rails being tied off again, in my opinion, because we saw a lot of that during slight downturns and during, some of the actual bear market itself. We saw a lot of mergers and acquisitions, and we saw a lot of partnerships from the fintech standpoint, and even a lot of the traditional players. I came across this also during a chat, and I forget who mentioned this, but kudos. One gentleman in the chat actually asked, hey, I've got 2 nephews that are interested in learning how to potentially code or deal in blockchain. One of the biggest things that I kind of gave as advice, because Ethereum Virtual Machine, EVM, is referenced or utilized by probably 75, 80%, probably more than that, and it's even used as a reference point for a lot of the, Flare networks and EVM compatibility within the XRPL at some point in time. So, but this is learning to code blockchain dApps by building simple games. It's cryptozombies.io. It's free to play. I'm not affiliated with this. I just thought it was cool. If you have anybody that's interested, this teaches Solidity, obviously kind of one of the most native languages that you would ever learn. And yeah, Project Helvetia Phase 2 also, I saw this. I'm not sure if this was brand new or not, but I found this one, settling tokenized assets and wholesale CBDC. Pay attention to the names, obviously Bank for International Settlements, Six Group, and all of the names that you can see here, including Swiss National Bank, etc. If you want to take a look through it. But I wanted to give a shout out to a lot of these marketplaces or marketplace creators within not only the Flare and Songbird networks, but also the XRPL. And I'll start, and I'm not affiliated with either of these next two things at all, but Sparkles. So Sparkles NFT, community-run project to be the first NFT platform on the Flare network. Now, I think this was just yesterday that the actual marketplace, the trading went live, which is just extreme innovation. And this is, I'm sure that Sparkles has tons of plans about building this marketplace out and doing all sorts of different things. But you can see the collections in here right now: Baby Songbirds, Songbird Punks, Rare Pepes, Pretty Pandas, the Sparkles Genesis collection, which I always thought these ones look super cool. And yeah, huge kudos and shout out to Sparkles. This is probably step one of a huge game plan that they have as far as roadmap rollout. And this is an essential step, though, because it creates a place for people to kind of visualize value as more of these NFT projects are released within Songbird and then certainly eventually Flare, but also the ability to kind of play in a network via a marketplace, which is, one thing that we're going to this is, Sparkles is one iteration. We're going to see so many different marketplaces being built out. I'm sure Sparkles has it in their sights to be the biggest and best, and I wish them the best. I think this was a huge milestone and a leap forward for the not only the Flare network, but for Songbird, the Canary network as well, and for the NFT communities that have participated as early adopters. Actually, I would even delve out and say innovators, because a lot of these projects are getting innovative ideas from the communities. The people willing to participate in these networks has been huge, and in the communities as well. This is step one, I'm sure. Onxrp, this is another thing I wanted to bring up. So this was an initiative from Xpunks, and I, again, not affiliated, but I've had the pleasure of speaking with Bastian and Kai on multiple occasions, and it was actually, I've only bought like a few projects on the XRPL. Xpunks was one of them, and it was because of that transparency and just kind of the drive that you get a sense of whenever you speak to Kai and Bastian, or have the opportunity to do so. Now, if you're not aware of what Onxrp is, Onxrp is essentially, an immense news aggregation platform, but also I look at it as one of the first of hopefully many, one of the first trust mechanisms that we could potentially have within this space for projects to allow themselves to have their information put on other platforms, as well as the potential for, doxing themselves and doing whatever they want to do. Now, certainly respect people's privacy, but these platforms that are consolidating, I want to say consolidating, but it sounds bad. I would say almost like vetting, because when I say consolidating, I'm not trying to say stifle innovation, because it's certainly not that. But I love platforms that are going to be like increasing transparency for the community, where it's going to be almost a community hub, where we don't have to just exist on Twitter or exist wherever else. We can exist within the XRPL community platforms that we've built. The white paper for me, now, again, Onxrp, or Zero XP, I think is the ticker. I think it's tomorrow at 11 a.m. is the IDO. These are the steps on how to buy. Again, not financial advice. I actually do think I'm going to be participating in this one, and that's stating a lot. I probably got to maybe move some stuff around, but their white paper is awesome too. I was reading through it. They published this. This was a little while back. I just haven't had a chance to cover it. I normally don't do this type of thing, but again, I think very highly of those guys, and I'm excited about the Onxrp ecosystem. So play to earn. The core module is going to kind of be that news and engagement, videos, forums, interoperability, Now we got your trading module with your DEX and NFT marketplace, projects module, which is going to be dedicated pages for featured projects, tracking, community communication channels for projects, which is cool. The team, like I talked about, Kai and Bastion are great guys. I was interested too by looking at the tokenomics, so I wanted to say, like, anytime you're dealing in any sort of an IDO or an initial sale, if you're not familiar with it, you know, there's a ton of volatility and fluctuation. Also look at like vesting periods, like just, you know, devil's advocate here, you know, strategic partnerships doesn't have a lockup, so they can use those funds whenever. I don't know if they're going to have lockup agreements or vesting agreements for partners. I would assume so at some point based on talking to Bastion and Kai in the past. I think that's probably how their minds operate. But, you know, no lockup versus lockup is big because you don't want to have a ton of people that have been prior incentivized to buy at an earlier price. Now, this isn't the case with this, obviously, but Onxrp's core team, 15 months. Now, this is more the vesting schedule, 24-month linear release. Yeah, it's exciting. And also, you know, if you're holding an XPunk, 5% of the total OXP supply is going to be dropped to those that are holding 0.1 XPunk or more. There's going to be random snapshots starting in February, so I'm going to be paying attention to that as well. I just wanted to give these guys a shout out because I think that they've been, amongst others, you know, one of like the pillars of like the projects that I look at is, you know, being transparent while also really trying to take whatever they're doing and just continue innovating. I think also I read in here that within their roadmap was actually starting to run nodes on the network as well, which I think is essential. I think that, well, it's not essential, but it's just one more good look. Yeah, start operating first nodes. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, Capital One certainly telling us what's coming with that fully integrated user interface that's going to tie in cost basis, tie in, you know, kind of that tax portal for you, and probably tie it into your transactions as an option regardless anytime that you make a purchase in a digital asset, because trust me, at some point, we will all be using our phones to make purchases in digital assets as this market grows and becomes more liquid and develops, and we're literally just scratching the surface, and this is just a drop in the pan. Nothing at all, because I think the valuations, not financial advice, even from a utility standpoint, are going to be immense. And if it's good for utility, well, I can only imagine where it could potentially go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.